Abortion rates are down, but before we celebrate, let's be clear. We're not real sure why they're down. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is Breakpoint. A recent report from the Guttmacher Institute contained very good news. In 2017, the abortion rate fell to its lowest point since Roe v. Wade was decided. The report also contains some not-so-good news. The pro-life gains Christians often talk about are probably exaggerated. At least that's the word that LifesiteNews used, and though it may not be what we want to hear, we need to understand this if we're ever going to create a culture of life. According to the Guttmacher Institute, between 2014 and 2017, the number of abortions dropped by 7%. Now, to put this into perspective, that means the abortion rate is now less than half of what it was in 1980, which was the peak year for abortions. Still, according to the Guttmacher Institute, there's no clear evidence that links the decline in abortions to the several hundred targeted legal restrictions on abortion providers, also known as trap laws, that have been enacted in this decade, including those that have even resulted in shutting down abortion clinics. Now, of course, we wouldn't expect the pro-choice Guttmacher Institute to give any credit to laws they consider immoral. Still, Sarah Quayle of the Personhood Alliance believes the Guttmachers' read on this data is accurate. In her article at LifeSite, Quayle agrees that claims about the impact of trap laws on abortion numbers are just not supported by the data. Ironically, Quayle also points out the same data also contradicts pro-abortion claims that restrictions on abortion equal, quote, limited access to the abortion procedure. Or as she puts it, the war on women's health is simply a political fundraiser. Look, here's the punchline. Nearly 60% of the reduction in abortions occurred in states that did not adopt new restrictions on abortion. Even states like California and New York that took steps to increase access to abortion saw declines in abortion rates. Meanwhile, several states with newly passed restrictions, like Mississippi, had abortion rate increases. And there was no clear relationship between clinic closures and the decline in abortion rates either. While abortion rates declined in virtually every state that lost abortion clinics, the same was true of states that added clinics. And because the decline in abortions is not accompanied by an increase in births, we can't simply conclude that more women are choosing life. Ultimately, it's just not clear what's driving the decline in abortion rates. The preferred liberal explanation is increased use of birth control, but that isn't reflected in the data either. So where does this leave us? It leaves us exactly where we were before the report was published. The battle for the sanctity of life was never going to be won just in the legislatures or in the courts, as important as those restrictions are, and as encouraging as it is whenever an abortion clinic shuts its doors forever. The battle for life is won only in hearts and minds, which means work remains to be done, as Chuck Colson used to say, over the backyard fence and around barbecue grills. The battle waged by politicians, lawyers, and judges, that's important, but we cannot outsource our work onto them as if they can do our job. Every Christian, all of us, must learn to make the case for life, in both word and in deed. As Quayle points out, moral relativism, not principles or consistent values, is what guides Americans' views of abortion. This is especially true of Americans under 30, 70% of whom believe that abortion should still be legal under all or most circumstances. While there's a place for law in politics, it will never replace witness and apologetics. While there's some good news in the Guttmacher Report, there's no substitute for what Quayle calls the real sacrificial work of changing hearts and minds, one person at a time. And equipping you for that work is why Breakpoint and the Colson Center exist, especially with our new What Would You Say videos. If you need a solid, memorable answer to a tough question, check out whatwouldyousay.org. That's whatwouldyousay.org. For Breakpoint, I'm John Stonestreet.